When we think of Anne Frank, we almost always think of her diary, right? It's this incredibly powerful testament to a life lived in hiding. But today, we're going to look beyond that familiar story. We're going to explore a completely different side of her focused and really powerful ambition to become a professional writer.
So, this is the question we really need to ask, because if we only see her diary as a private journal, we're kind of missing the bigger picture. Those pages she filled, they weren't just a record of her life. No, they were the training ground for a future she was actively planning with an incredible amount of clarity.
So let's dive into this writer's dream of hers.
And it's so important to get this right from the start. Her dream of being a writer, it wasn't some fleeting hobby or a childish fantasy. It was a clear, professional goal. She really saw herself as an apprentice writer. And the secret annex? Well, that became her workshop, where she put in the hours day in and day out.
And this quote, man, it just gets right to the heart of what was driving her. She didn't just want to write for herself. She wanted to become a real writer. This wasn't about private journaling. It was about having a public impact, about having a voice that could reach far beyond those attic walls and actually shape conversations. Now, what's so amazing is just how clearly she defined what that impact would be. I mean, look at these goals. She wasn't just writing about herself, she was on a mission to understand human nature itself, to document history so future generations could learn, and ultimately to leave a permanent mark on the world. For Anne, writing was legacy. But this wasn't just a passive dream. In what basically became her secret annex workshop, she put in the work. She was relentlessly honing her craft, all under the most impossible circumstances you can imagine. And this right here illustrates a huge shift that happened. She started her diary for herself, sure, maybe as a form of therapy, but it evolved. She began actively editing and rewriting her own entries, shaping them into a manuscript she actually called The Secret Annex, a book she was consciously creating for an audience she hoped to one day have. So the main takeaway here is that she was not a passive recorder of events, not at all. She was an active artist, approaching her work with a conscious sense of craft, always experimenting with her tone and structure. She was, in a way, a student of her own work. And just look at this process. This is the disciplined work of a serious author. She read everything she could possibly get her hands on. She revised her own drafts over and over again. She analyzed her own style, critiquing her word choices. And maybe most remarkably, she studied the other people in hiding as if they were characters in a novel, observing their frayed nerves, their little kindnesses, their complex relationships, all with a writer's eye, gathering material for the stories she was determined to one day tell the world. And all of this leads us to the final, incredibly powerful act of her story, a story of just tragic irony, but also the unbelievable fulfillment of her greatest ambition. And here's the heartbreaking reality of it all. After all that work, all that dedication, she was discovered just months before liberation. She never got to see her manuscript published. She never saw her name in print. But her story didn't end there, not by a long shot. In a way that feels almost like a prophecy, her dream did come true, and on a scale she never, ever could have imagined. Her diary, that book she worked on so meticulously in hiding, has been translated into more than 70 languages. Just let that sink in for a second. The young woman who dreamed of having her words matter, whose workshop was a cramped, hidden attic, she became one of the most influential and widely read authors in modern history. Her voice has helped shape the moral consciousness of entire generations. This captures it perfectly, doesn't it? She wanted to be a writer, and she became one. It wasn't the way she imagined it, of course, but it was in a way that literally changed history. Her words mattered. Her name is known forever. So we end with this thought. Anne Frank's story isn't just one of tragedy. It's also about the incredible, unbelievable power of a focused ambition. And it really forces us to ask, what does it mean when a dream is so powerful that it can not only survive the most horrific circumstances imaginable, but can ultimately outlive its own dreamer?